So, let us begin with some background to the whole topic. We will do a long background and slowly get into the topic. That is the way it is planned. We are going to talk about reactive species. What exactly is reactive species? Some of you know about it, or most of you know about it because I have talked about it in the transport course also. For people who may not know, the highly important intracellular molecules that you may have never heard of, because they exist everywhere, but in the context of this course we will focus on important intracellular molecules, or them being highly important intracellular molecules that a common person may not have heard much about, or in other words you might have heard about it, but you may not have paid any attention till you started to look at it. In fact, they have been known for many decades under very different names. For example, they were initially called free radicals because the ones that were important were actually free radicals. Then people started referring to one particular species as reactive oxygen species. There are many, but this was the most important, this was frequently occurring. Therefore, the entire class of molecules were known as reactive oxygen species. Then they realized that it is not really representative, and therefore, from at least 2015 onwards, when the book was published, that is a Bible, so we follow that, Halliwell and Goodrich, that called it reactive species, and we will talk more about reactive species. This is a general term. Okay. Any questions? So, you will come across all these terms in the literature depending on how old the literature is, and sometimes even new literature refers to reactive species as free radicals, but you need to take it with a pinch of salt. The terminology and things like that are field dependent, they are not very rigorous and things like that, as you will see very soon. They are not just been known for decades, they have been under, I mean they have been running as a stream or basic stream underneath, that they are even a part of popular literature. Okay. I am going to read out an extract from a popular literature, see whether you can recognize the popular literature. It is highly popular about 10-11 years ago. I think it was published about 12 years ago. Soon after it was published, it became a rage. I do not know how many of you have read it. Let us see whether you can guess where this is from. Within quotes, what I have told you does have something to do with how we age, because it appears nature has a sense of humor. The thing that keeps us alive is also what causes us to age and eventually die. When oxygen reacts with our food in order to release energy, it also releases free radicals called oxidants. These oxidants are toxic and so on. I have just extracted a few parts. The oxygen helps convert the food we eat into energy, but it also causes the release of oxidants into our body, which start reacting inside us. We rust from the inside and hence age and eventually die. This is the biggest hint. The sombris, when consumed, reacts with the oxidants and absorbs them and then expels from the body as sweat or urine. Because of the sombris, there are no oxidants left in the body. Okay. Any guesses? Antioxidants? No, this is a part of popular literature. If you have read it, fine, otherwise it is not, I mean rather it was a big hit when it came out. The author is still in the news, but recently there was a book by the author on a different, it is a part of a trilogy. Any guesses? No? Okay. Too old for, it is from the Drink of Gods by, that chapter Drink of Gods, first chapter. Book is Immortals of Meluha by Amish Tripathi. I think he calls himself Amish for the book. Okay. This is from that. So, its reactive species are also part of popular literature about more than a decade ago. Okay. Okay, let us begin with aging, because aging is quite interesting to most. aging has held the fascination of people for a very long time. A lot of effort has been expended to prevent aging. Okay. That is the goal of many people right from millennia, part of folklore and so on and so forth, part of even history, right, or history or mythology or whatever you want to call it. You all know that thanks to a movie which featured that disease, right. And if you, I mean rather you know something from the movie, but movie is a movie, right, Amitabh Bachchan's movie, but so you got some that story angle from that. What I would like you to do is go to your Moodle page. I hope you have brought some headphones. I think the second link is links to videos and so on. Click on the first video. I think it is called Progeria Children Rapid Aging Disease. Okay. I will also watch it, and then I think it is a 5-minute video. It is nice to watch that, and then we will talk about things. I guess in most videos you can turn on subtitles if there is a problem. Yeah, in this case subtitles are already there. Some videos you can, some videos do not have subtitles, the older ones do not have subtitles, I think. Anyway, it does matter. Finished or anybody? Okay, good. So you have the basis, the genetic basis for progeria as understood now. And why we are looking at this is because the reactive species are implicated in the mutation, and they cause the thing. Of course, it is a rare disease, but aging is of interest to all of us. So let us start here. Okay. That is what I quantify here. Occurrence of progeria is 1 in 2 crores. Okay. But it is very well known because of its effects, the social effects, and so on and so forth. So it is a genetic disorder, and its cure needs to be genetic. The genes are wrong, and therefore every gene in the appropriate cell needs to be changed for a certain cure. And how you could do this, you could, I am not going to ask you to look at it here, but all these videos are available to you, right. The links are available, you can watch them anytime, even if you want to go back and clarify things, the links are available. This is a long one. So if you are interested in something called base editing, okay, something like CRISPR but not CRISPR, this is a different technique, it works on a different principle. So you can go and take a look at it, and this came out a couple of 3-4 years ago, I think, and as a paper in Nature, probably a couple of years ago as a paper in Nature, and this is a TED talk on that. You can take a look at a possible way of curing this genetic disease. And this is the paper, the link is given, you can go and take a look at this. This is the online version, I think that is good enough for most of us. Okay. So Koblan is the first author. In vivo base editing rescues Hutchinson-Gilford progeria syndrome in mice. Okay, any questions so far? We looked at progeria, we saw that there is, I mean, of course, we confirmed the genetic basis, and then I just mentioned that reactive species play a role in the process. So to understand that role, let us take a closer look at what aging really is. There are external manifestations which all of us know about. There are observable signs of aging such as changes in skin properties, changes in facial and bodily appearances, loss of strength, loss of stamina, and so on and so forth. Okay. And also a progressive loss in the functioning of organs and tissues, and that is what is functionally, that is what functionally does the damage. These are cosmetic damages, and this is a functional damage. We all know that organs and tissues are made out of cells. I do not need to tell this group that this is made for people who do not even have that background, and therefore cell is the fundamental functional unit of life. We all fully understand this. Okay. So let us look at what it does to the cell. So at the cell level, taken from this source, shortening of telomeres, which are the DNA sequences at the end of the chromosomes, as most of you know. There is improper regulation at the transcriptional level. There is improper nuclear trafficking. I do not have to explain any of this to this audience, all of you know. Improper nuclear organization happens, improper protein translation happens, insufficient proteostasis or maintenance of protein quality, including unfolder protein response, improper autophagy, improper maintenance of mitochondrial function, its biogenesis and mitophagy, which is mitochondrial autophagy, decreased cytoskeletal integrity, improper cell membrane and extracellular matrix, and so on. Okay. These are the ones that are given in this source here, Cell Biology of Aging by De Loreto and Murphy. Okay. So, this is what happens at the cell level because of aging. You clicked to the wrong place. Okay. So, those degenerative cellular aspects or processes accumulate in the cell, which leads to damage to the cells, progressively leads to cell dysfunction, and since cells constitute the organs, failure of the organ comprising of such cells. And in terms of RS relationship, when the cell ages, the intracellular reactive species level increases due to an imbalance in the rates of production and their neutralization. Okay. We have all done, most of you have done transport, so you know the importance of looking at things in terms of rates. Any dynamic system, especially we need to look at things in terms of rates, and even if doctors picked up the habit of looking at things in terms of rates, their procedures, their understanding would significantly improve, as I have discussed significantly in the book. Okay, to give you an, let me see whether I come to that here, if not I will give you an idea later. Okay. So, any dynamic process, it is best to look at it in terms of rates rather than terms of amounts. Typically medical doctors look at things in terms of amounts, and there is a certain limitation. So, they look at things that are already damaged and decide based on already damaged things, which is no good. You are doing things to essentially save what is remaining rather than what is already damaged. Some processes mentioned earlier, such as mitochondrial dysfunction and mitophagy, contribute to an increase in the reactive oxygen species levels, okay, and that tends to cause an imbalance in the rates of production and its utilization. All the 4 basic biomolecules, okay, we all know this: amino acids, nucleic acids, lipids, carbohydrates, or proteins, nucleic acids, lipids, carbohydrates. These are the building blocks of life. Okay. These fundamental biomolecules, all of them get affected by reactive species. Reactive oxygen species will oxidize any of these molecules with ease, okay, especially hydroxyl just cuts through the whole thing, and that is how it causes difficulties. We just saw it causing the difficulty in the aging process, premature aging with progeria, with regular aging. These difficulties accumulate, the damages that are caused by the reactive species due to imbalance in the RS homeostasis accumulate, and that is what causes the difficulty. So, the essential cause is the reactive species in many different situations. Okay. In terms of diseases, a lot of diseases, including the lifestyle diseases such as the cardiovascular, neurodegenerative diseases and so on. Cardiovascular, neurodegenerative probably is not lifestyle. All these diseases, reactive oxygen species are involved, okay, and they cause damage predominantly by damaging the fundamental biomolecules and sometimes the processes that are related to them. For examples, they, for example, we saw that genes get affected, and genes is nothing but DNA. DNA proofreading gets affected, DNA repair gets affected, and that's how the whole thing goes. We will, oh, we have time. Take a look at this video. Okay. By the way, this is an ad video. Okay. So, any of I might have used some ads because of the basic information in those ads. It's an advertisement or something. I mean, advertorial or something like that they call. Okay. The basic information is nice. Okay. Leave out the last part of it, which could be, or I should say, I should disclaim that neither IIT, neither me nor the department nor IIT endorse any of the products that are there in any of these videos. Okay. So, that I need to say, especially when it is being recorded. So, please, I mean, I say this in all classes anyway. Go ahead and please watch this. Okay. So, you have some be getting warm with respect to reactive species and aging. Not just aging, reactive oxygen species especially are the cause of cancer, and they are also used to treat cancer. Okay. We will discuss a lot more on this towards the later part of the course. Reactive species levels above the homeostatic level tend to cause cancer, they cause cancer, and if you want to kill cancer cells, pretty much all chemotherapy and radiotherapy are based on reactive oxygen species generation in excess. Okay. So, just remember this, we will of course revisit this and so on and so forth. This is an introduction. It is implicated in Alzheimer's and it is implicated in so many diseases. Okay. That is one of the reasons why the title of this course is Reactive Species in Medical and Related Technologies. Okay. Medical, it is well known, its roles in various diseases are known, roles in certain therapies are known, and so on. Any questions so far? Yeah.
Aging and cancer related, I mean, is there any connection?
The damages could be related, but aging is a little more complex. I do not think you can very easily, we can relate the two as vice versa and so on and so forth. If you get this, you will get that, and if you get that, you will get this. I do not think you can do that. I mean, there are a lot of cancers. Only when people get to a stage of diagnosis, I mean, when they get diagnosed, then they have cancer. Many cancers do not even get detected, they just remain benign. And they get dangerous mostly when they metastasize, when they move from one place to another. 90% of the cancer related deaths are caused by metastatic cancer cells, metastatic cancer, or in metastasis. When metastasis happens, that is what is responsible for 90% of the cancer related deaths. When the cancer is in its original location, nowadays people can very easily handle that, most of them, not all, most of them. But when they start moving, then it becomes a major problem. Whether you can strictly relate them vice versa, I am not too sure. What causes cancer could be very different from what causes aging, although there could be commonalities, but you cannot take one. I mean, that's my view, but that's an interesting question. You need to think a little more about it. Please bring up these interesting questions. I'm very sure of what I know, so if I know, I'll tell you I know. If I don't know, and if I can find out, I'll find out. If that seems a little distant like this question, I'll ask you to find out and enlighten the class. If you figure that out, please let the class know. Okay, let me know, and I'll give you some time. You can let the class know, and that way all of us learn. Yeah.
So they say that normally when a cell divides as we are aging, so there is a telomere, so that is covered with a capsule. So after every division that reduces. So as we age, that gets shortened and shortened. As a result, that cap, like it's like a shoelace, the outer thing that is covered. So that gets reduced, so that outside that gets more exposed. That's the reason it is more prone to cancer.
More prone to cancer. Yeah. Yeah. There is certainly a relationship because of the
reduction of the size of the telomere with every cell division as we age.
there is a certain relationship. Now he was more. I mean, I perceived his question as, can you say if one happens, the other happens? I don't think you can generalize to that extent, but certainly there should be overlaps because the basic cause is the molecular cause.
Generally, with aging, cell division reduces.
Cell division reduces, certainly.
Pathology is different in both cases. Cancer,
Pathology is
different. Aging, it is slow process where cell doesn't develop.
so. Cancer doesn't get seen as aging. Rather, you cannot categorize those things as aging. Yeah, I would think so.
In aging process, fibroblasts might be affected. The cells that produce collagen might slow down. In cancer, based on the location, the tissue might get affected.
And that can happen at any age.
At any age.
As long as cancer comes. Yeah, that's probably a nice way to look at it. The cancer can happen at any age. That's one. And in terms of things aging out, a couple of years ago I got cataract surgeries done. Okay, so cataract had, I mean, they found out 4 years before, then it matured. Then I started feeling the blurriness in vision, and in one eye more than the other eye, and then they said both had matured. Within about 10 days I got things done. So then I went and read about it. When things happen to you, read about it and how the lens works. You know, they put an intraocular lens. I was very interested in finding out how it works. I don't need this actually. Okay, this is more. Well, doesn't matter. People say that I need this to look like a professor, so I wear this. This is plain lens. I was wearing the same frame before the surgery with correction, but I continue to wear it with just the plain lens now. So I don't need this to see. I can see much better now, but the way I see, of course, was different. I needed to get used to that. What happens is when we have this crystalline lens, the crystalline protein lens in the regular eye, and there are muscles that change the thickness or the focal length of the eye, and that's how we see it, and that's a process called accommodation. Okay. So I was wondering how this one will work, because during cataract surgeries they actually, whatever, I mean, most of it is gone because cataract happens usually at an old age. In old in sense, I think the median age for Indians is around 62 is what I read from a 2004 study, and I think the US population, it's around 72 or something like that, is the median age, but it starts from the 50s, and most of them. There are cataracts known at a very young age also, but that's rare. Okay. So this accommodation is mostly gone due to aging, due to lack of that function, and whatever little remains is actually cut off during the surgery. So that's what I read, and it makes sense because you'll have to, you don't consciously think about it, but the way you look at things, I keep looking at it, then actually the focus improves due to a totally different process, not accommodation, after the surgery. So if I just want to look at something, that's fine, it won't be too much in focus, but that doesn't matter, I don't need it in focus. Whereas if I need to focus something even 20 feet away, if I look at it, gets very clearly in focus without any problem if I just keep looking at it. Probably a slightly different process of the brain eye coordination, whatever it is. So in terms of aging, thinking of the accommodation part of it. Any, yeah, pardon?
Near vision, aging is associated with near vision.
No, I had both issues. I had both myopia and hypermetropia, whatever. I started wearing glasses in my early 20s for far vision. Funny, you don't realize it. I had not worn glasses till I was about 23, 24, and then started wearing it in the US because while driving, at some point in time, the road signs, which are quite big on the highways there, I couldn't read them so clearly. I had to get close to read them. Then I was visiting here, and therefore I checked. My uncle was an ophthalmologist, so I grew up in a family of medical doctors, by the way. So my direct, my natural orientation is toward medicine. I didn't want to do medicine, and therefore I took up engineering. That's the way it happened. So I checked myself, and yeah, there was some minor correction, some 0.25 diopters or something like that. But yeah, that was helpful. And slowly, of course, that went, and at around 40 plus, I needed lenses for near vision. Then there was a problem. If I wear this progressive, the computer screens became a problem. Somehow it doesn't fit in. So after a couple of times, I just said, give it to me for far vision. I'll remove my glasses. I read it much better without this. Yeah, there is some difficulty, but that's okay. So I had both issues. But these are composite, rather I don't need correction at all. Typically what they do is, in some situations which the doctors know better, they advise only a single focus lens, not only for far vision, only for near vision. You can choose for some situations. And for me, they said you could use both. I don't drive too much at night and so on and so forth. So you can use both. So there are rings in this intraocular lens of different refractive indexes. So different focal lengths, and that's how it works. So different parts of the lens focus different parts of the image. Interesting part. So all this I read when I went into doing this. Okay, we'll finish with this. We have a couple of minutes left. Reactive species, as you may know, are important in many fields apart from the medical and related technologies aspect. If I start listing, you can relate to some of these because you must have seen these already. Food processing preservation, heavily used, rather you need a knowledge of that to do that well. Organic artifact preservations for museums, reactive species interfere with the preservation aspect, so you need to know. Atmospheric pollution monitoring mitigation, you might have done this in your chemistry courses and things like that. Reactive species play a very important role in pollution aspects, atmospheric pollution. You must have all studied free radical polymerization in your chemistry courses. Polymerization part, rubber, plastics, paint, UV protection products and so on and so forth. Sonochemical processes, you use ultrasound to intensify processes. Okay. That intensification actually arises due to reactive species in quite a few systems, including biological systems. Materials, corrosion, free radicals are heavily involved. Combustion, they are central to the reactions, and so on and so forth. I have listed a few. Okay. So interest in this is age old. We are of course looking only at we will be looking only at the biological aspects with a focus on medical and of course bio related technologies in this course. Okay. When we meet again on Monday, I think we will stop here. A couple of minutes left, we will stop here. When we meet again on Monday, we will start with what exactly are reactive species, because we need to understand that as completely as possible. Any questions? Feel free. I mean, I'd like this to be a discussion class. Okay, that discussion, that question that you brought about, that embellished the whole thing. So please bring up questions like this. We'll discuss. I will not know most of it. That doesn't matter. Okay. Let us start looking at different angles, and we'll learn things. Things will get clarified much better. That's the best way to learn. Any questions?
Say one thing.
Definitely. Yeah, comments. Yeah, questions, comments. Yeah.
Where we have studied reactive oxygen species, it helps in during fighting infections.
Yes.
Infections, during that time it actually helps. It helps to fight the infection. So bacterial cell also gets destroyed.
Definitely. Yeah.
So during bacterial infections it is useful. In other pathologies it is slightly towards it will cause a derangement in our body. In other diseases, viral infections or cardiovascular, diabetes, aging, everything else.
Yeah, at the end of this course, you will realize it is there everywhere. So, it's just that we have looked at some parts of it in greater detail. Yeah, certainly, I fully agree with you. In fact,
infections, it helps our body to fight.
definitely. In fact, this is coming later. One of my PhD students looked at the effect of reactive species on gut bacteria, because gut bacteria can be significantly helpful in a lot of things, including in cancer therapies. So, we had some focus on cancer, yeah, we have some okay, let us say we had some focus on cancer. And so, if you are taking in chemotherapy drugs, especially oral route, then you need to worry about the effect it will have on the microbiota and so on and so forth. So, the effect of bacteria. She looked at the effects on Enterococcus, which is a representative gut bacterium, and so on. It is fascinating field, definitely. Any other comments? Yeah, comments, questions.
I think reactive nitrogen species or oxygen species activate the macrophage, I think.
Yeah, that is the basis. You will find that hydroxyl, which is OH dot, that is a very powerful reactive species in terms of reactivity. Superoxide is powerful. We will see what exactly they are in the next class, beginning from the next class, and so on. Yes, definitely. What you say is absolutely true. And
So I have a doubt.
yeah.
Progeria, the gene which codes for the intermediate protein, one of the cytoskeleton filament lamins, and it destabilizes the cell membrane. So that's how the rapid aging occurs in progeria. So how that relates with the reactive species?
Oh, the reactive species are the cause of the gene defects to begin with.
Okay, so it is not inherited. It is like
No, no, genes are inherited. Reactive species is not inherited. The genes are inherited, the defective genes are inherited. So, what caused the defect in the gene to begin with, if they did not have a gene, I mean if they did not have a defect to begin with, that was most likely a reactive species.
so it's inherited, and ROS causes the
ROS may have caused the defective gene to be created in the first place, or it would have caused the defect in the initial defective gene. Of course, it is inherited and all that, so you need to get that defective gene intact to cause progeria. But what caused that defect is the reactive species, oxygen species. Yeah, that is true. Yeah, I agree. That was my difficulty when I started putting this together. Although I agree it was a tenuous link, but the popularity was so much that this catches the attention of people. People are, I mean, they start looking at reactive species right away. That's the main part. Yeah, and it's a rare disease, right? Not very rampant, but it causes a lot of difficulty. It catches your attention. That's why it's there in the first class. We'll drop it after this. Reactive species do enough, and we'll look at what they do. We'll have to really stop now. I'll just check, but feel free. Okay, the entire class can be like this. We can. I'm sure I can cover whatever I needed to cover with the entire class being like this. Yeah, sure.
Related to her, so that in that video we saw some of the children in that family were not affected by protein.
Yeah.
So maybe the cause behind their well-being as compared to their siblings might be that the gene repair at that time might have happened when they were
No,
about to be born.
I won't rule that out, but it's unlikely. See, we all know how the traits get sorted, even in classical genetics. It's entirely possible that only 25%, even in a classic case, only 25% which get the recessive genes in both the recessive genes, only there will this trait manifest. So, it could just be that, or it could be whatever you say, but this is more likely, I think. You never know, and since this we know that a large part of the population will not get affected, although you could have that gene in the parent. helps, I mean makes us guess that that is more likely. These are all probabilities. So,
Looking genetics at a Mendelian way is a bit too limiting.
no, it helps you. No, Mendelian genetics is highly helpful. It is limiting from an understanding viewpoint. Yes, I do agree, but they are all based on observations. Okay, there is very powerful. It's evidence based. The entire theory is evidence based. You can work out the probabilities quite easily, verified so many different times. So that has power, and in fact, when I wanted to include that as a part of my biology for engineers book, I included that as the last but one chapter. I debated whether I need to really include this, because this is old. We are doing molecular stuff now, molecular genetics now, which is far more direct and so on and so forth. Will this be useful? But that analysis is very helpful. The classical genetics analysis is very helpful. It is the basis for a lot of work now. All the genetics related people, you go, there are a lot of services providing genetics related aspects. They all do classical genetic analysis, along with, of course, some molecular stuff. One of my relatives also does that. Okay, to finish this, we are way off time.